Morning, everybody. It's 24 June, and I'm in eastern New Hampshire. I ran into my first two southbounders today. They gave me some great advice going into Maine. So they started in Katahdin and are coming back south. I might be able to join them later in the season, but but anyway, great advice. And I think between yesterday and their advice, I'm gonna make a shorter day today. Probably do 10 miles, stop just short of the Maine border, so that I can be well rested, because that's going to be a heavy hike starting off into Maine tomorrow at this point. We'll see. Just a couple words. My video got cut off yesterday. Just talk a little bit about the Appalachians, since we're not going to be doing as much. So just briefly, the Appalachians were formed back when Pangaea was formed as a continent. So think of India pushing into China, causing the Himalayas, those tectonic plates. So it was the same thing. North America and Eurasia crushed together, forming the Appalachians. And at the time, they were the largest mountains in the world, longest mountain range and by far the tallest mountains. Over the years, they've been eroded. Of course, the continents have moved, the Earth's poles have switched, all kinds of things have gone on since then, geologic time. And then most significantly, 14,000 years ago was our last great ice age. So North America, especially Canada, New England, this whole part of North America, was covered by a very thick ice sheet, so very comparable to what's on Greenland now. And that ice sheet was flowing south out of Hudson Bay. So it pushed all the topsoil and much of the rocks away, and then sort of dropped them, in formed, Cape Cod, Long Island, southern New England, New York, etc. And you can see that. You can see that in the fjords that are carved out of Mount Desert Island. You can see that in the carving out of the mountains here. You can see just the rock here below. Everything's scraped off, and you have the bedrock right there. And you saw me climbing over all of that in the last few days. Other interesting formations are when the glacier started melting, you had rivers, and many of these rivers flowed under the glaciers, like they do in current glaciers, and they cut these deep notches. So you saw Grafton Notch yesterday. All these notches were maybe carved out partially there were mountains, so spaces between mountains, and then deepened by the glacier, and then with these under glacier rivers carved even deeper. That's how they feel why those notches are so deep. And then, of course, when the glacier melted completely, it left sediment, and much of the sediment, it took away a lot, but it also left some. So often you see, as I've shown you a picture, these large rocks or smaller rocks, they're just sort of left in an odd place. And sometimes they'll be all over the place, rocks, sharp rocks. And the rocks are different than the bedrock. Often you can look at the rocks and see, well, this is a different type of rock, completely different rocks oftentimes than what's under it. And it's because it was brought from somewhere in Canada and left off there. So anyway, very interesting how these mountains were formed and the geology in the area. I just want to go through it briefly. Again, I'll have a shorter day today. I will talk to you later. Little garter snake eating a toad. Never seen that before. Sort of interesting. Good evening from Gentian Shelter. I took a fairly short day, about 11-12 miles from Gorham, New Hampshire. Yesterday was a long day, and so I want to take it easy. Tomorrow is going to be tough, and some of the southbounders I met advised the same. Just a word about, so this is a nice place. You can see a very nice view out the back. It looks like there's glare, but if I step out here, you can definitely see all the mountains in the background and the granite into that deep valley there. So it's very nice. And I'm the only one in the shelter, so this is my little sleep area back there. get my little socks airing out and everything. So so basically, most of the folks that I had met on the trail in Vermont and New Hampshire, a couple of them I met have moved on. They're probably about a day ahead of me. I heard that the two Army officers, the West Pointers, apparently are probably 2 or 3 days ahead of me. So they're there. They're within reaching distance if I pick up my pace, I suppose. And then there's a couple of people who are behind me. So Juice messaged me. He hurt his knee and stayed in Lincoln, New Hampshire. Not yet. He was the Quebec hiker, a little older. Also a little older, about my age, or a few years older maybe. Also, he had some shin splints, so he stayed in Lincoln. So some people are behind me, some people are ahead of me, but I think, especially coming to Maine, a lot of the day hikers, the students, teachers, all those people we met on the trail, most of them are going back to what they do. Very few people are going on into Maine for that. A little more serious hikers, I think, and fewer day hikers, a lot in New Hampshire. So anyway, tomorrow will be an interesting day going into Maine, which will be very interesting. Also, there's going to be the Mohoosic Notch, which is the hardest mile on the Appalachian Trail, according to everybody. So we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody, have a good evening. I'll get ready for bed. Good night.